Hi again, good morning. Thank you for attending today's webinar. My name is Alex. I'm the head of IT for RSM Malaysia. Today's webinar we will be sharing on business continuity plan during COVID-19 pandemic crisis with the help of information technology. On also, the main topic will be on sharing on this the BCP with the IT prospects. Before I start my slides, I would like to also introduce our guest speakers from DaytaPol Malaysia to share about disaster recovery, Mr. Michael, and also from PointStar Malaysia, we have Mr. Chong here to share about Google Streets. So, of course, when we talk about BCP, it's always involved in, it has also other involvement, such will be the IT involvement. So BCP is the objective of BCP is actually to minimize the potential impact of threats on business operations. As such, the holistic approach that consider essential operations, critical equipment, key personnel, functional vulnerabilities, supply chain exposures, and propose solutions. The BCP requires top management commitment and buy-in success as a top-down risk management approach. The BCP is a living document requiring repeated exercise and continuous improvement. BCP been separated has been in separated four columns. As such, will be today's coverage will be on cybersecurity, remote support, disaster recovery, and video conferencing tools. So in such BCP plans, it is always very important that we must keep a important aspects on the IT divisions that has an important role. That has an important role. Many enterprises actually mistakenly replace BCP as part of the insurance policies, for which they will likely never have in place a claim, but in more of having a business continuity during as such time. So it is always in other words, it's also the effective of BCP is also mainly depending on the IT continuity to ensure that the organizations can meet the objective of all as such work from home as what we have been practicing for during the MCO periods that we have 2 months ago. So as this slide, we will talk about the framework of BCPs. So in the framework is actually the heart and soul of the entire BCP plannings when it comes to the IT aspect, where the management, from the management to make it possible. With the BCP frameworks, it will share the component like analysis, prepare, planning, and testing. Each component has its own individual role to play as such. Analysis will talk about risk assessments and business impact analysis.
Huh?
Business impact analysis will be continuity of business despite of any interference like global pandemics, natural disasters, man-made disasters, sabotage, or even cyber security attacks. And then the next one we talk about preparing stage. Will be identifying the objective of the plan and set goals. Choose the business continuity team, identify key business areas and critical functions, make a plan to maintain the operations. And then, of course, the next one we talk about planning stage. It will be prevention strategies, response strategies, recovery strategies. All these are actually piece and parcels of the entire when we talk about planning stage. Of course, the next one will be the crucial one. It will be the final stage will be the testing stage, where the implement of a curriculum to train the business continuity team as well as employees in the event of an emergency. This could include basic training and an overview of the business continuity plan, or in-depth exercise designed to test the procedures and prepare employees. An emergency protocol to train team members with specialized responsibilities is important. If you are conducting a drill exercise, make sure employees display readiness and high comprehension into going through the entire BCP exercise. Of course, when it comes to BCP on IT aspects, it is actually mainly back to the digital transformations, more on the digital transformations. Like you can see on the charts right now, you have a 5% that says of companies mastered digitize to the point of differentiations from their competitions. In such meaning says that company that actually is BCP ready, or they have already a well-planned BCP plans, they actually managed to go through the entire transformation where the whole BCP plans will work in such a way that the organization is able to work remotely without having physically at the office to work. And then, in other words, and also, and for example, like we can say, businesses that are ready in if they are ready. For example, we talk about e-commerce operators like Lazada, eBay, businesses, especially during the MCOs that we have recently. One of the most affected operation will be the shopping retailers. For those retailers that have a marketplace up available in the e-commerce, they are the less suffer operators compared to the traditional retailers, where you can see on the chart it says 85% they are the affected market people. So of course, with digital transformations, it will be indirectly, we will go into the cyber security portion already. Because when we talk about digital transformations, everything will be up available in the cloud. And then this is where cyber attackers or cyber criminals, they will start doing all the work behind there to retrieve or to manage of your data. So on this, we will share about the methodologies of a cyber attack. Mainly, they are put into three stages, which is the trend stages, cybersecurity impacts, and consideration, or we known as the remedy. So in trend, for example, in trend, we will talk about for the past over 2 months, where we have most of the country worldwide are having a lockdown. So attackers, cyber criminals will normally use the current situations to create a epidemics to launch an attack. For example, creating false website on COVID-19, false updates on websites that to bring attention to the users to visit the websites for them to download all the vulnerabilities into their computers, so that the attackers is able to gain access to their respective PCs. And of course, then if we talk about the cybersecurity supply chain disruptions, And then, of course, to increase the click bait on social engineering, for example, visiting social media websites, emails, and all sort of others, digital messaging. And of course, the latest threat. Latest threat will mainly we talk about viruses, malware that is available up in the internet, and also not to forget we mentioned about ransomware. They are a new, a few new variants of ransomware that is actually launched during the COVID-19 pandemic. Then also we talk about the next one. We talk about the impact. The impact will normally we talk about the demand of the high demand of VPNs, bandwidth, and controls of the remote connectivity, technology implementations, proof, whether it's a proven workable or is also it was put in place in such a urgencies. Endpoints detections and response. We talk about how a cybersecurity product's response towards the cybersecurity attack. And then we talk about this, your source of connectivity, for example, where are your internet connections coming from? Are they coming from a public connections, or they're coming from your home broadband fiber, or they're coming from your mobile hotspots? All sort of source that you're looking into it, or are you tapping into your neighbor's Wi-Fi? All these are questionables. Of course, then next we talk about AI and machine learning detections on new attacks. These are sort of piece of the impacts that we'll be looking at. Then we go to the last stage will be considerations, or we know or code or known as remedy. So normally cyber securities will comes to we talk about security. Of course, one organization or businesses they should actually consider, which is the secure connectivities, multi-factor authentication, security products, and patching, threats and risk assessment that has been done thoroughly, priorities on critical securities operations, of course, subscriptions to a security managed providers as a alternative solution. That means if let's say there is a attack right now, at least there is a expert that is able to give you a further advice on how to resolve and also to provide a disaster recovery. Of course, you might have threat hunting capabilities, continuity updates of cybersecurity awareness, cloud securities based provider, a clear guidance on, of course, the organization must have also set up a SOPs for all the incidents that happens, and also SOPs for all the users when they are accessing to the company's information. When we talk about cybersecurity, of course, then we talk about data breaches or the breaches risk that we're talking about in this. As such, risk impact in cybersecurity is not enforced and eventually will cause an even greater risk. This is actually a case study that was done by Citrix that was published in the year 2017 that says 83% of businesses believe the complexity of the organization structures and its IT infrastructure is putting their companies at even greater risk for security breaches. These are something that everyone, organization must be careful when we talk about data breach. That means all the confidential data information from your organizations has been accessed by the cyber criminals to make it publish, or even at the end of the day they could gather the informations to ransom back as a hostage back to the organizations. So the next topic we were going to talk about is ransomware, which is the massive outbreaks that we were aware of that I believe everybody is aware of. Ransomware is one of the fastest growing malware attacks happens worldwide. Just as you look back at the year 2017, the new variant of ransomware called WannaCry made a sudden debut, spread beyond the worldwide, affecting computer systems in more than 150 countries were crippled. The WannaCry ransomware attack has actually substantial financial impact worldwide, and estimated value of cybercrime value of $4 billion in losses to the globe. So ransomware is still a growing cyber criminals or cyber attacks that is still happening until today, where cyber criminals will use a variant type of ransomware to encrypt your files or your data on your PCs or your servers, and later the cyber criminals will eventually ask for a ransom before they release the decryptors or the password for you to open up the information that has been encrypted earlier. So of course from there you can see the charts there. I have the percentage. All these percentages that are all captured, and it can be found from the internet. For example, we talk about the how organizations achieve losses and how does it keep and so on. The next, then we will talk about human factor, which is a insider threat. This is actually mainly related to misuse or misconduct of the computers or information that was given to a users. For example, it says here 46% of the cybersecurity incidents happen is actually from careless and uninformed staff that is actually contribute to the attack. Such will be accessing to phishing emails, or we call them spear phishing. Spear phishing is actually a fraudulent practice of sending emails ostensibly from a known to a trust or a trusted sender in order to induce targeted individuals to review confidential information, such as a cyber criminal were to use a similar email address related come from a company, sent to the company's clients and ask for payment. Then they will have a very familiar phrase says that, oh, due to we have a problem with our current banking, kindly or please remit your payment to the due bank information, where cyber criminals will actually alter the invoices, the original invoices, to attempt receive payments on behalf of company A from the clients. Other than that, of course, other than spear phishing, then we will talk about social media mining. Social media mining is the process of obtaining big data from users to generate contents on social media sites and mobile apps in order to extract patterns, form conclusions about users, and act upon in the information, often for the purpose of advertising to users or conducting a research. So social media mining is where, for example, we are actually browsing through our Facebook, and then in the meantime, we are actually looking, we are also checking, we are using the same device. We were actually looking at Lazada to check on deals, or even on the some of the products that we wish to buy. So eventually, with the help of social media mining, Facebook is able to capture all this information from your another applications, which is Lazada, and then at the end of the day, it will actually produce as a advertising in Facebook to produce you a lot of all these similar informations. And this is also considered part of the insider threat, which is, of course, social media mining is actually harmless, but it will create other values. The next type of insider threat we will talk about, man in the middle. Man in the middle is the cryptography and computer security. A man in the middle attack is also known as hijack attack, in an attack where the attackers secretly relay and possibly alter the communications between two parties and believe that they are directly communicating with each other. So these are also man interference in the middle. This is, as been, it says man in the middle. That means there is a third party in between a communication between two parties. The next slide we'll talk about these cybersecurity cases that has actually reported in a rise in Malaysia, according to the Cybersecurity Malaysia, which is a agency registered with the Ministers of Communications and Multimedia Malaysia, and also National Cybersecurity Agencies, which falls under the National Security Council with the Prime Minister's departments. As you can see, these are some of the news that has been actually extract from the stars, and the stars that you says here. There's a rise in cybersecurity case alone itself in the month of April, which is up by 82.5% due to the MCO periods, during the MCO periods. The next slide will show us about some of the recent cyber attacks in Malaysia. For one of it will be from Media Primo Berhad, where one of the Media Primo servers has been attacked and data was encrypted. Media Primo was even asked to pay a ransom of ringgit Malaysia 26 million. As such, Post Malaysia is also being attacked recently during a core system upgrade where their online system was being attacked by malware, being attacked by cyber criminals, and has actually crippled the entire online systems, which is mainly used by the Post Laju. And then the next one we talk about is actually a international news on cyber attacks, where it's actually has affected a international money changer organizations, where these money changers data was being held in hostage for a ransom of $6 million. The next slide will tell you about the types of security event experience. Types of security events experience based on the survey done by IT Security Risk Surveys back in the year 2017. This report shows that the types of attacks, from malware attacks to IT misconduct based on individuals' users. You can see viruses and malware, inappropriate IT resources used by employees, physical of devices or media containing data, physical loss of mobile devices, exposing the organizations to risk, inappropriate sharing of data via mobile device, targeted attack, DDoS attack. These are some of the attacks or cyber criminals activities that is largely in operations. As such, looking at the highlighted type of events that happened, which is viruses and malware and targeted attacks, they are the one of the highest increase on daily basis. The next, then we will talk about cyber attacks or cyber criminal activities towards towards the trending. For example, we talk about earlier in the month of April, we know that there was a cases arise where Zoom meeting crisis due to the sudden hike from 2 million users to overnight sensation of a 20 million users that has actually caught the cyber attackers' attention, where cyber criminals has taken the opportunity to exploit on Zoom meetings or the possibilities to launch a cyber attack that is dropped under targeted attacks, that they are attacking users that are using Zoom meetings for Zoom meeting sessions. What can they be done? Attackers, cyber criminals, they will actually exploit the Zoom meetings applications where they will modify the source of the applications to allow cyber criminals to launch an attack during at the back end of the system uh, by inputting or by injecting trojans into your respective PCs without you knowing it, and then later it will cause a uh, greater information as such. They can actually gain the cyber criminals is able to gain confidentials or credentials information of a personal or a corporate information as such as online banking credentials, your emails, and of course your others PNC information during your web dinners with using Zoom meetings. But of course, it is always one of the quickest measures is that you will just need to simply download Zoom meetings from Zoom meetings website, but not other sources. Know your sources when you're downloading the applications. Make sure to have a cyber security product installed. As such, will be a antivirus to make sure that you have the Windows patch updated regular. This will eventually reduce a lot of the impact. The next we'll talk about the impact from the attack. At the end of the entire attack, every losses are able to be calculated, whether it is a organized cyber attacks or a personal uh, or a targeted attack or a randomly attack. Information data that is saved on your computers, whether it's a JPEG or a Word document or a PDF, it's are equally important to everyone. So the answer is so the questions back to everybody is that why still there's a risk that data is being exposed to the activity for cyber criminals to uh, to do such a work. So actually the answer is actually very straightforward, that everyone should have a set of SOPs when utilizing or when using the computers that has actually connections to the internet. So advice and awareness is actually important on what are the things that you should and you shouldn't do with the internet when surfing the internet. The last the last slides from my topic is actually on remote support. Remote support is actually the last is actually past is actually part of this business continuity management BCM, which is under the BCPs, where for remote support is actually mainly for the IT divisions people to the IT divisions to provide a support in terms of monitoring, uh, technical supports in troubleshooting, monitoring the condition of each of the laptops or even desktops that has been distributed to the users to work during the remotely as for the remotely working. So of course, when we talk about monitoring under the IT, we can do a lot of monitoring from providing a application that is able to do snapshots every screenshot every 50 minutes or even 30 minutes to know the activities of the users is using the data log of the activities on the computers, whether they are working or they are using it for other purposes. Everything can be captured by using certain types of softwares that can be reported back to the management. And of course, to not just only providing support, but of course, remote support is also part of services that we can provide telephone support as well. So of course, the last slide after of talking the first two part of the BCPs, uh, that is the end of my part here. The next, I would pass my screen to Chong from PointStar to share about Google Suite.
Hi everyone, my name is Chong. Give me a moment, let me just share my screen. Good morning everyone, thank you for your time. So my name is Chong, I'm from PointStar. So PointStar is a Google Premier Partner and we specialize on the digital transformation as well. And we are also delivering a lot of Google services, and also a part of it is the G Suite business as well to the customer. We believe in working on the scenario where we are able to transform how workspace collaboration in this new century or the new era. So let me share with you a little bit more on how workspace collaboration as an overview for the current situation. So we can see that the workplace is now evolving into a workspace. So what do we mean by that? So it means that employees now are away from their desk 50% of the time. So you go on the previously you go on the road, right? You have the mobile working, you see customers, you go to the project sites and everything. But now the situation has changed. So you probably have to be out of the office, which you work from home, or you have to work from other places. So this is how things has been evolving, like workplace is evolving into a workspace. So, and you have to start to put core productivity apps and data are already on the cloud. So meaning that you start to use your HR application to apply leave on the cloud because the application sits on the cloud, no longer sitting in your server room in the office. So, and example, you start to access your emails using your mobile phone, using your laptop when you're not in the office, no longer the time where you only check email in your office anymore. So, and these are all actually running at the back end of the cloud. And of course, your employees want a connected and collaborative workspace. So meaning that if I'm out of the office, I'm actually literally or virtually, I'm actually just beside you, and how we can actually discuss and operate, even though I'm not physically beside you. So we can see that what we see collaboration is actually four components of this scenario. So first, I think that's important to connect. So from a Google perspective, we connect through Gmail, an email system. We connect through Calendar. So we connect through video conferencing software like Google Meet, which is what we are using now. We also collaborate using Google Chat, meaning there's an internal messaging system for a company. So of course, then you need to create everything you need to bring your project to life. So that's where all the Google Docs, Google Sheet, Google Slides, which is what we are sharing now using a Google Slides, equivalent to like a Microsoft PowerPoint, and also Google Forms, which what you have been doing a lot now when you visit a shop now, where you actually need to submit your information about your name, your mobile phone, your ID, and your temperature. So those are all submitted through Google Forms, and those will be then saved in the Google Cloud, and it will be always accessible by relevant parties where they need to check on the information that's being done. And of course, that's where the access comes in, right? Just like as mentioned, you store files and find what you want instantly. And the more important part of the last piece is that you need to control it. So how you actually manage the users, how you actually have to manage the devices, how you actually need to secure your data, and making sure they are all, like what Alex has mentioned, they are all in a safe hand. So you have to have these four components in terms of workspace collaboration. But the challenges, what we see now is that employees experience a significant gap in work and home applications. So when you're at home, there are a lot of things that you are no longer able to work as in you're in the office. So this is always the challenge. And the IT departments will have more systems to monitor, implement, and manage. So imagine if you're in the office, you're managing a desktop for one of your staff. So now your staff have to go back to work from home. And the desktop or the laptop's probably still in the office. And they probably start checking the applications or the data on the emails on the mobile phone. So meaning from one devices now, you probably get into 3 devices. And how do you actually manage all these things and making sure they are all complying to your company policies and making sure there are no problems coming from there. So these are always the challenges that IT face. So, and like I said, the average IT organization has to manage like more than 1,000 cloud services now. And 30% of data breaches are caused by employees due to lack of internal controls. So these are some data coming from some studies here. So it may be really relevant in many companies' perspectives as well. And I will always say that the data breaches caused by employees due to lack of internal controls is actually not to be missed out. Yeah, this is something very crucial for nowadays. Yeah. So example of things that you have to do while you need to manage all the devices is that you need to patch all your systems. So you have to have patch the on-prem software and things like that. And this should be able to be done better nowadays. But still, this is a very, very tough scenario for IT administrator if things are not on the cloud. So echo to Alex's presentation as well and sharing. So you can see that you have like 91% of cyber attacks start with a phishing email. So your email systems are supposed to be able to help you to secure as the first gatekeeper of taking out the emails that will reach into the mailbox. And 90% of reported breaches were caused by employee negligence, extortion, or external threats. So, and every 40 business is hit with a ransomware attack. So these are all realistic data. And we should really look into this kind of threat that's coming on. And this is just going to be more and more, not getting less and less. Yeah. So what's the approach here? So we think that it is important to have a pure cloud native solution that can help you to mitigate the risk and reduce the cost. So from a cloud native secured solutions, it means that, I mean, in a Google perspective or even on a technology perspective, we look into this kind of scenario where first you have to look into operating system. You need to look into the email. You look into your shared drive. Could be in a file server, could be in a Google Cloud Drive, or even like Dropbox or anything that you've been using a shared drive. Documents that you've been using. And of course, the conferencing scenarios we'll be using as well. So we've been seeing a lot of conferencing problems now, like, okay, you have a Zoom bombing, you have like people who came in and then they hijack your meetings and putting in like bad videos and things like that. So all these services, like we said, the cloud native solution should be encrypted in transit while it's on the cloud and back to your devices. And this is something that everyone should probably bear in mind, that this is the best practices that moving forward if you are choosing the right solution for your workspace collaboration. So I'm going to share a little bit more on remote workspace best practices. So we start with the people working from home. So grant the workers access to collaboration tools. So that making sure the employee working from home will be able to access to like Wi-Fi or Ethernet or VPN access or business applications or certain network certification that's important to connect back to the application or the core systems that back in the office. Physically, they are not there, but virtually, they should be all using the same way as it is. So second, so you prevent cyber attack by updating your OS. So like Chromebooks users, they receive automatic background updates every 6 weeks. Mac users can install the updates, and Windows users can install the updates regularly. Yeah. And it's important for you to have a two-factor authentication and single sign-on in your organization. So in, for example, in Gmail or G Suite, you're able to actually do a two-form authentication for you to be able to access your email. So meaning that you can have a password, and then your second factor can be an SMS or a phone verification. And only with these two-factor, then you can start actually using the access to your company data, right? So, and it comes up with a very interesting scenario as well. A question is that many scenario is a lot of companies ask you to change your password every like 90 days and things like that. But we still see that a lot of breaches comes from a very bad password settings, right? So you use still like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 for a password. So that should not be the case. So the two-form authentication will be able to assist your organization to avoid the situation where the password is not good, or because you always have a second factor to govern the situation from the employees having a bad password, or they'll be sharing password all over the places. So so it's important for you to share file with the right people. So this is a very important mindset. So it's up to you how you want to information to be shared. Run your colleagues' permission levels or external people that collaborate on a project. And for G Suite, for example, what we are doing, you can see at the right screen, is that the Google Docs or the Google Collaboration Office tools allow people to simultaneously real-time editing a document at the same time. So meaning that you are not at the office, but both of you, one staying in maybe in Kedah, one staying in PJ, or even if the lockdown cases, it's like I'm staying in PJ, another person staying in Ampang, but we're actually physically just sitting side by side while we're actually working on the same document. So we change the documents, or we edit the documents at the same time. So you really save a lot of time by not sending a version 1 through email for someone to review, and the second person send back a version 2, and the third person send back a version 3, and then the same person have to consolidate all the changes, and then all these things can be eliminated. And of course, not about saving time. It's also saving all the errors that you might happen between the versions. So on a employees out of the office, so extra tips for you. So use corporate services when working on personal devices, and update your home Wi-Fi security. So avoid using public Wi-Fi or use a VPN if you're not at home, and beware of your surroundings. Lock the screen when walking away, use headphones, and make sure your screen is not visible to others. So simple tips, but it's very important for your daily practices while working away from the office. So as we say, you have to secure your remote workstation with simple measures. You need to share files with the right people, and you need to take additional protection on known security risks for everyone looking out of the office. So now we look into a little bit better on the IT best practices and the policies, how an IT should approach to actually create a conducive collaborative workshop for everyone. So first, you need to choose the right solution provider. So you need to have a perfect forward secrecy, meaning what it means by perfect forward secrecy. It means actually a solution provider which encrypts contents as it moves between the servers and your companies. So it's important for you to have that encryption in mind, so that you know that it's always being protected on the solution provider level at the service level. So of course, you need to have 100% email encryption. Ensures that your messages are safe not only when they move between your devices and mail service, but also when they move internally within the solution provider. So if you are using a local hostess or someone who hosts your email for you, so how safe does the person who is actually hosting or managing the email service for you are actually using the right access control? They have a backdoor policies into your emails? Can they browse your email on your behalf without you knowing? So this is actually very important for you to have that kind of control and have the kind of peace of mind when actually having an email hosting, that you should really look into it. So while we are also always thinking about external threats, we also think about the solution provider or the backdoor threats we should really taking care of. And of course, you must have a solution provider consistently doing a high level of encryption. So like for example, like G Suite, we use a RSA encryption key length to 2048 bits and changing them every few weeks. So of course, strong authentication, we've talked about it. You need to have a support of two-step verification to reduce the risk of unauthorized access. And the capability to help to detect suspicious logins is important. So meaning that if you're using a different devices to log into your email, even though you can key in the password, it will still prompt you alerts that to your email accounts, or even if your apps, that okay, this is someone is logging in from a different new devices. Do you think that this is something common or something that you are aware of, right? And of course, you need to have a reliable and secure provider. So choose between the providers with a committed service level agreement. So like Google, they actually offer a standard, it's 99.9% uptime, and there's no scheduled downtime for the entire services. So meaning that you won't receive an email saying, oh, we will be doing some email maintenance or server maintenance on which day, like between what time to what time, and there will be some shortage of services for your email. So important for you to look into the certifications and the audit and the assessments for the service provider. So like Google, they have like many audits has been done, like ISOs and SOC and PCI DSS and all that. So these are all the governance that external parties will audit and check on them. And of course, there's also regulatory compliance. If you're doing a lot of business with multinational companies, you should probably look into this kind of compliance about your company status, as well how you're actually making sure you are actually complying to their regulatory as well. So let's talk a little bit on how an IT administrator or IT team is important to have a unified security dashboard. So that's where you actually, when everyone is not around and you're managing people and devices all over the places, it's important for you to have a unified security dashboard that give you the insight and how your data is being exposed through the file sharing, for example. Like visibility into like phishing messages targeting users within your organization, and metrics to demonstrate your security effectiveness. So these are all things you can see, like here you have a message delivery, what do you see, and what kind of spam filter we are talking about, and things like that. And of course, the dashboard should offer something like a file exposure, authentication, like how many messages don't meet your authentication standards, right? Encryption, email delivery, spam and malware classifications, and your access rights for all your users as well. So you as an IT administrator would be the gatekeeper and also the one who actually write the policies for your company. So you implement granular and fine-tuned access control for your users. So for the devices, for your applications and everything. Okay. So for example, you create control policy to apps based on attributes such as user identity, location, device, security status, and IP address, perhaps. Yeah. So this is what I mentioned. You should enable and enforce two-step verification for all your applications or a single sign-on. Yeah. So this is an example that you can use your phone as a two-step verification using the mobile phone, instead of using an OTP password or a SIM password that sent to you every time you actually check an email. You should also implement mobile device management, meaning that what kind of device can actually access the email from your phone or from your tablet. Right? So in G Suite, it actually has come with the mobile device management that actually allows you to enroll the devices into your company emails or the drive. So for example, here you can see you can tailor your basic mobile device management from like admin console devices setup and mobile management. Then view mobile devices that access the work data. You can screen lock and passcode enforcement, right? And selectively remote account wipe, meaning that if you need to wipe the data for a person who has resigned from a company, or they have lost their phone or laptop from somewhere, when they are out. So this will be the important things that you can do by endpoint management. Of course, then you do whitelist for trusted domains for file sharing. It's important. You will be also have the capability of view the document changes with a version history. So while many people will be editing the documents, or you need to see whether there are anyone who actually access your documents, there will be important that you can see all the version history in that perspective. And now, more importantly, we are talking about video conferencing. So it's important for you to secure meeting across your organization. A lot we are doing today is that we use a Google Meet, and you have to use that a secure platform to do this. What do we mean by that? For example, like Google Meet, right? It is how you see it's a meeting code is 10 characters long with 25 characters in the set. This makes it harder to brute force guest meeting codes, right? So external participants can join directly only if they are on the calendar invite or if they have been invited by the organization or the host. So you have to have that measurements to avoid the hijacks of your conferencing. So last one, you should be able to always view file changes with your drive audit logs. What has been done in your folder, in your shared drive, in your file that's in that policies, you're always able to pull back the audit logs for your security or investigation reason. And you're able to actually have the, for example, G Suite offer the data loss prevention features that actually you can lock down any sensitive information as needed. So you can prevent the copying of a file, its content, or even downloading and printing, so ideas still stay within that file. So you can also, for example, if you're on a business that you have a lot of customer data, information data, or personal data under the PDP, so you will be able to make sure the DLP will define, like example, credit card number will not be actually able to copy, screenshot, and forward out as an email. The email system will have the intelligence to be able to detect when the email with such information, which you have set as a rule, to be forwarded out. So this is just to share with you how the built-in security with video meetings with Meet. It is how you should reduce the service attack. There's no plugin for Google Meet. And when there's anti-hijacking measures, you also have data in transit, which is encrypted with default DTLS transport layer security and secured real-time SRTP layer. And of course, there will be a unique encryption key per participant. And yes, you have data at rest with Google, which there's a lot more data what we talk about in the Google security measurements. And of course, you can always check back your audit log and access transparency report from your G Suite admin console. And of course, you can archive it if you do a recording. So in a nutshell, tying it all together, you should have a default on endpoint management, which you manage the devices where your workforces are on the ground or in the office. And of course, you must have another important layer of advanced anti-phishing protection. So, and you must have security keys, and you should always have a security console that actually give you a unified control in terms of all the devices, all the users, and also all the logs that you should be able to investigate if there's any breaches or any incidents that happen. And of course, the data loss prevention will be important. That's all for my sharing for the overview and the best practices for workforce collaboration. I'll pass back to Alex. Yeah.
Thank you, Chong, for the presentations on G Suites. Next, we will have Michael from DaytaPol Malaysia to share about disaster recovery. Michael, to you.
Hey, thank you, Alex. Hi, everyone. And I find that both Alex and Chong's presentation was very interesting. And you know what? I am one of the very supportive Google users. All right, just have a guess. Can I have a quick chat with all the participants? You know, from the range of 1 to 10, 1 as in you are not sure what have they spoken about, presented. 5 is somehow, you know, somewhat you know a little bit, but you are not sure how to execute it. Or if you can rank it 10 as in, I'm very sure and I'm very clear about what they presented and you are going to do it. So can I have a quick chat with participants? Can you put on the messaging chat about your feedback to the presentation just now? All right, 6, 7, 7, good. 5 is somehow like, you know half of it, but it's okay because you are not supposed to know everything. That's why we are here to share with you as in what are we supposed to do, talking about the BCP. Yeah, Durai Masara, 6, 7, 8. All right, 3 to 4 non-IT. Yeah, that's why this is the reason why we organize the session, the webinar, so that we could probably help each another by sharing the knowledge, by sharing the so-called industrial knowledge to the people, to the public. So thank you again. So without further ado, let me start my presentation. Thank you, and I'm going to share with you window. Okay, 1 second. Okay, where is my screen? The screen went off. All right, not an issue. I go by the whole screen. And I assume you are looking at my screen right now. Okay, so BCP is the reason most used keyword recently. And without further ado, I will be focused more on the Go Cloud management. Somehow, thank you, Chong, because Chong has elaborated very much into details already on the cloud management, user management, and collaboration about. So before I get started, I would like to share with you, in the first place, what is happening in the whole world currently. Not to mention about Google Meet. I mean, it just happened that I got this statistic, So we are talking about the Zoom user statistic on the daily peak movement. So during the December last year, there was this about 10 million users. This was the daily peak up to maximum, the peak at 9 million. And I guess what happened recently due to COVID-19 and, happened to lockdown and many others. On the March of 2020 and last month, April, guess what? From 10 million, it jumped up to 200 and 300 millions over 1 month. So what do you say from here? And this is particularly about Zoom. And you have no idea the numbers on Skype, Google Meet, and many other platforms. So having said that, on daily basis, there are billions of people are getting into webinars, a conference to do their work, to listen, to understand. And that's why I would like to share with you the next slides that everyone in the whole world, we are looking into digital transformation. We have a need to look into what are we supposed to do to go against the pandemic, because every one of us are not sure. And this is the very first time happening in the whole world. And we are seeking for an alternative, as in what are we supposed to do. So we'll start with the digital transformation, as in transform in a way that what are the changes that what are we supposed to do, right, at this situation. All right, first of all, I'm going to talk about the time frame and the growth rate of if you or your company were to get into digital transformation, as in digitalization. Rather than tell you the process, I will jump straight into the result. And I'm going to show you the result of if your company get into the right digital transformation, and this could probably be the result that you can expect. So to share with you, I pick up some of the global company, top company, on what have they done, and also the result. There are Microsoft, Best Buy, Nike, and many others. So I would like to pick two of them. The first one is the electric store, Best Buy. Probably you've heard of it. So I would like to share with you what have they done for the past years to the company, what are the changes they have done, and what have they made so far. So in the first place, Best Buy used to sell electronic items like fridge, television. They purely sales. But since then, they transformed, they switched the focus to advise the customer. And they offer in-house consultation to the customers. Guess what? They charge the customer on the flat yearly basis. It's like a subscription membership basis. And this is a very big changes they have made. And finally, due to the changes, they managed to get the big data. And the big data help them to understand the customer profile better. It's just like Google, like what Chong explained to you, shared with you just now. Eventually, I mean, I use Google every day, especially in Google Map. And it tells you, it even suggests you, propose you, what are you supposed to do? And the AI, the machine learning is so interesting and a bit worrying as well, because it become your virtual assistant. So this is what we are talking about, digitalized transformation that is happening to the company, to the corporate as well. And the second company is the hardware store that used to be a traditional store that you need to buy the hardware stuff over the store, right? So they change it, transform it, and they allow the customer to purchase online. From there, they picking up from the store. And you know what? because of the transformation, they managed to get from the big data and understand the local trend. They understand exactly that, for example, I put Malaysia as an example. They understand exactly that the customer, most of them, 35% of them in Petaling Jaya, they love this particular hardware. So from the big data, they are going to make sure that all these related and suitable SKU or the product will be standby, right place, in the right store, in the right branches. And this is what we call it big data. The digital transformation help them to understand the customer better and take a look on the share growth happening to them from 66, 198 to 58. This is very tremendous result that obviously every one of us are happy if we are able to achieve such a result as well, right? But take a look on how many years they have spent to make such a result. From a span of 3, 5 to 7 years, I mean, do we have the time to wait? I mean, eventually it's not the same. Why? Because these are big giant. They have thousands of employees. And, looking back for ourselves, we do not need such a long time to achieve such a result. As long as you choose the right way, the right digitalization, you could achieve the result as well. In the first place, that when we're talking about BCP, how are we supposed to continue such based on the current pandemic? The common challenge that most of the SMEs or business owner are facing is in such that, am I supposed to? I mean, look back at your team. I assuming you are the business owner, you are one of the managers, and look back at your current team. I mean, is my current team too fat? Are you trying to reduce the cost by, for example, I don't know. I mean, are you supposed to cut costs? And this is the time for you to make decision. As in, are you supposed to have your in-house engineers, have your in-house designer properly, or are you supposed to outsource it? For example, I mean, not trying to hard sell, but you could probably consider outsource your IT to RSM Malaysia. This is one of the example. So this is the challenge that we are facing, most of us are facing, but we need to make decision from it. And secondly, it happens to me as well. That is, our data is almost everywhere. It flows in everywhere. So most of the people or the business people or even the individuals, our data has become so complex that we have our data in different platforms. You call it a social media, Dropbox, Google, and many others. And I found this so-called an image, which is very interesting and reflect to our life. Take a look if it's the truth or not. And this is what happened to most of the people. I have this 15 gig Google Drive, Dropbox, and many others. And you know what? We are actually messing up ourselves because we are not sure where our data is. And when we need to make use of the data, we are kind of lost in nowhere. And in layman term, we are actually taking risks on our data because eventually, end of the day, we are running a business, running an organization, and we shouldn't take the risk. Okay, probably the diskette is no longer there in the picture, but still there are many other companies that are still relying on the external hard disk, pen drive. I'm not trying to help Chong to get into the cloud, but this is the truth. And talking about the challenge, ask yourself, how are you supposed to, or what are you doing in terms of your company data collection, and how are you going to protect it? Do you protect it in the first place? Ask yourself, what is the important data in your company, in your organization? I mean, seriously, it doesn't matter your company is Soho with 3, 5, 10 staff. It really doesn't matter because all the entity carry its own important data. So ask yourself, write down on paper, if possible, what are those important data to you? And from there, are you or how are you supposed to safekeep them? Are you supposed to keep them in the fridge, keep them in the cabinets? And the last but not least, this is very interesting because whenever I ask this question to my partners, to our SMEs customers, can you really operate or run your company if you were to lose part of the data in the event of ransomware, for example? Obviously the answer is no. Why? Because we thought everything is safe. Because, nothing bad happened before, right? So this is what happening to most of us right now. And thank you again to RSM that we should look into it right at this moment. From there, I would like to share with you about the action plan when we're talking about the digitalization. What are we supposed? These are some of the options that you can look into. Imagine this is your company org chart. Just imagine. It may not be the same. Like we have about 70 over participants. You are probably the company owner, or you are probably one of the managers in a different department. Doesn't matter. And talking about the action plan due to the pandemic, or if I were related to BCP, due to business drop to 50%, 30%, and you have no sales for the past 1 to 2 months, what are you supposed to do next? So I get to know a company in the commercial tower next to Mid Valley. Not currently, somewhere before the COVID-19 become more aggressive, somewhere in March and April, they had about 100 staff altogether, managers, staff, they had 100 of them. But up to last week, the boss decided to reduce it down to 30, and his target is cut down to 20 of them. He only remained 20 of them. And it's exactly reflect to what I'm going to show you. You either reduce the cost, get into, I show the icon again, or go to the cloud, or you outsource it. And this is one of the best way you could probably do it. And for example, Natalie over here, I got to make her cloud, not to terminate her, put it this way, not to terminate her, but somehow she need to be half the cloud. She got to work from home, just like Spotify, just like Zoom, Facebook, many others company or employers allow the staff get into work from home basis, but with the condition that they cut down or reduce some of the salary, the different departments. So this is probably one of the action plan that we can take. And imagine that you successfully execute it and you reduce quite a big chunk of it. And this is the criteria that you need to look into it. There are 3 items of them when you are making into or taking the process into digitalization. That is, in the first place, security. Just like Chong said again, security is very important. How safe and how secure or reliable the vendor is in the first place. And the second item is accessibility. Are you able to access to your data anywhere? Since your staff is everywhere, they could probably work from home in the hometown. And last but not least is the compliance. The solution, the product, or the software, whatever we call it, it has to be compliance. Implemented means that the quality must be there. You cannot get into a particular provider or supplier. This is because, it's so cheap, pang. All right, I jump into it. It doesn't really work. Why? Because you may regret one day. So these are the very 3 items that you need to look into when we talk about digitalization. Obviously, Google is one of the trusted vendor, and I believe you agree with me. And then I focus more on the very important topic, that is a backup. But okay, backup technically it's split into 2. One is the local backup, as in you backup in your on-premise, as in your home, your office, or whatever it is somewhere in the on-premise. And obviously the second is we are talking about cloud, and this is what John and I we love so much. We're talking about cloud every day. And talking about cloud itself, I mean, I have not much into local, because you can buy a external hard disk and place in your office and start to back up your data. This is nothing much to explain about, but there are top five criteria you need to look into when you are considering a backup solution. Again, security, reliability, maintenance costs, accessibility, and the cost. All right, talking about maintenance costs, should you have a trusted staff or vendors, then probably you could opt for local backup. You can buy external hard disk or NAS or whatever we call it, and build your own backup on premise at home or in the office. But the thing is that the maintenance cost is something that you need to consider. Should anything happen, just for example, the USB got into faulty and you couldn't boot up the machine, how are you supposed to recover your data in the event that you need the data? And this is something that is very serious. Accessibility is a second issue. I have this media company. They offer web design, artwork design, and related services. And during COVID-19, especially since March and April, the staff complained to the boss that they have a challenge because all the media files, the artwork, the design files are stored in the office. And due to the lockdown, they are not accessible to it. And due to the limited IT knowledge, the so-called the freelancer do not know how to make it accessible for the staff so that the staff can work in a usual way. So from there, they have lost quite a lot of man-hour due to this issue. So from there, obviously, we advise them to get into the cloud, not the whole thing, but at least partial of it, the important one, that we let the staff access to it at any time they need in a secure way. Okay, this is a very interesting slide. If you could pay attention to the cloud over here, what it tells you, the question is that you know me or you know my siblings. What does it mean? All right, let me share with you. Everyone think cloud is the same, right? Because it looks like a cloud. Like this is a cloud and this is a cloud. Seriously, before I joined DaytaPol, yeah, I mean, I have the same perception that cloud should be the same. Why? Because their name is cloud, but technically there are differences, and I could share with you some of it. On the right-hand side, when you see this icon, this is generally we call it a sync, cloud sync, like what Chong is providing. This is like Google Drive. Very good, huh? I'm using Google Drive for sure. And on the left-hand side, this is a cloud backup, where this is what DaytaPol, our company, is offering. We are not going to talk about pros and cons, but I just want to share with you the comparison, and these are two different. And good thing is that it collaborate one another. It help one another in the event of, let me show you the case studies. This company is rather sensitive, so I put it like this. They are located at Ara Damansara, and this is what happened to them. They have 9 staff in total, including the boss. They have 10 Google Drive accounts, 10 Google Drive, and 1 Dropbox account. For what kind of usage? I'm not sure. I didn't ask them. So this is what happened to them. And they have 1 server, secure or store the accounting database, and obviously many others like the staff information. And in terms of devices, they have 4 desktop and 5 laptop. So this is very familiar, right? So this is one of the user account that they screenshot and share with me. This is Google Drive, and this is how they do it. So that's why I always say that Google Drive and Dropbox is a very good match, that eventually how they make use of it. For example, they have in one of the users, there is this folder called Office Colleague or Operation Team. It doesn't matter how you call it. So these 2 particular folder are the public folder. Public folder in the sense of they share only to the team members. And other than that, personal customer info are somewhat a private folder that belongs to this particular user. So this is what happened to them. And And after 2 to 3 discussion, so this is what we have designed for them, and they have executed as well. So the boss himself, the boss is using a laptop, and the boss is securing currently at 350 gigabyte out of his own machine. Probably his laptop is carrying like 1 terabyte in hard disk. I'm not sure. But after few discussion, he decided to allocate himself of 350 gigabyte. Finance and admin, because they store more data, more information, more important information, and each of them, they are getting 500 gigabyte. And obviously the blue color, the server CCTV, is one of the most important device in the company. Why? Because other than storing every one of them, the data in this particular machine, they have also secured the CCTV footage in the office and some other branches that they have. So over here, the server itself are getting 5 terabyte. This alone, one company phone and 6 other stuff at average 250 gigabyte. So this is what we have designed for them, and it has been running since last 2 weeks ago. So they subscribe 8.2 terabyte to secure the data, and this is what we're talking about. Disaster recovery should, in the event of, for example, admin, in the event of the laptop been hacked by ransomware or whatever you call it, or she probably lost the laptop due to some accident, I don't know. So what we do is we log into DaytaPol account and recover the data, and that is what we are talking about, business continuity, because we shouldn't make any losses due to the fact that we are not able to access to the data. Okay, this is how we work with Google, Dropbox, and many others. There will be a unified portal on the account that you are going to get, and from there, you plug all different multi-platform into DaytaPol, whether you call it a laptop, desktop, server, phone. And the best part is that we are also working with different companies like Google, Dropbox. So like for example, this is your account, DaytaPol account. You store the data because based on this company, VT, XXX, Sendran Berhad, they have so many Google Drive account. So we help them to secure all the data into one unified account. So the business owner or the managers are able to making sure BCP is in place should in the event of anything were to happen. Other than that, they wanted to make sure that the data is fall in the right hand or used under the right hand. So what they do is they have scheduled a monthly audit trail report to make sure that what are the user doing and what have they done to the data. And obviously, based on the enterprise backup like DaytaPol, we help them to schedule hourly backup to make sure that in the event of, let's say right now it's 11:30 in the morning. I mean, too bad my laptop been hacked by ransomware. In the event, I don't have any antivirus. Should I have any antivirus as well? It's hacked by ransomware. So what happened is that I roll back, I check back the last backup was at 9:30, for example. So I simply go back 9:30 version, I download it, I restore it, I continue my work just like that without much hassle. And we are one of the company also come with AI recognition as well. So this is everything. It comes to one word that we call it a data management. Somewhat related to Chong explained just now. And again, this is what we call it a data management by using a appropriate solution. And right now I'm going into this quiz time. So let's take a rest. I would like to go back to the audience again. And the first one who get the right answer by posting in the messenger, the right answer will get a gift of $100 US dollars, which comes to about 400 or 420 ringgit. So which is you are going to get a 3 years Bitdefender subscription plus a 300 gigabyte data pool from uh, RSM Malaysia. Thank you again for the sponsor. And the question is like this. Listen properly. I would like to. Okay, you got to. Okay, you are still seeing my screen, right? The question is that. All right. Now every day, every one of us are talking about cloud computing. Hey, I'm into cloud computing. You see, we are virtual. We do everything on the cloud. So everyone seems to be happen that we are getting on the cloud. But because of that as well, what happened? Due to the um, the number of users, and that's where the hackers see the opportunity, and that's where ransomware happened. Just like what Alex shared just now. Cybercrime is the very big business, or in this particular article, they call it a new economic. Why? Because the so-called the bad guy, the so-called the bad guy, they are offering ransomware as a service. You pay them a sum of money, and you can launch an attack to someone. Oh, obviously this is illegal. Please don't get me wrong. This is illegal, but it happened in the real world. That ransomware, it becomes so common, and that's where a particular entity, whether you call it a SME or enterprise or corporate, being hit by ransomware is not about luck. It's a matter of time. It's a matter of time. So back to my question is, the question is that in order to fight against ransomware, what is the one thing that could solve ransomware at almost 99.9% or 100%? What is the one thing that could solve ransomware? So the first one to get the right answer will win the gift. All right, so opening up to the floor. So the question is that, what is the one thing or one solution or method that we could stop ransomware from happening or resolve the issue? Anyone? Seeing cloud computing is not right. Cloud backup, antivirus. Boon Chong, your answer is cloud backup. You are half right already. You want to try one more time? You don't want to try again? No, I mean, subscribe to DaytaPol. Come on, thank you for the support. Cloud management is not right. Boon Chong answer is almost 50% already. Boon Chong said cloud backup is almost 50%. Anyone want to try to improve it to get into the right answer? It's very general keywords. Not cloud sync. Okay, I give you a tips. I give you a tips. The answer, the keyword, is start from alphabet B. Yeah, Emily, thank you. So Emily, please, I give you my email address. This is my email. Send me an email, Emily. Thank you, and you are the winner. So the answer is very simple. It's not about DaytaPol, subscribe to DaytaPol or not. The answer is proper enterprise encryption backup. So the backup will stop ransomware. So there was this happening to the company, this company in Klang. They are doing 100 million in revenue on annual basis. So one night the boss called me, Michael, I need your help because we have been hit by ransomware. So after we have talked for so long, seriously, I couldn't help them. Why? Because there wasn't any backup. So should they have a proper backup? Then there is the answer. So again, the answer is when you have a proper backup, you are not to worry about anything. So thank you, Emily, again. And then I would like to continue my slide. And it comes to the almost the end. Thank you for the participant. I would like to get into my screen, yeah. Your presentation. Okay. So the answer is proper backup. Because with the proper enterprise backup, what you need to do is you can either ask RSM Malaysia or somehow you simply click restore button. And this is the answer. There is nothing else. We are not required to be so clever. And this is the only way that we should recover or restore our data and back to the business or operation, we call it. So finally, again, I would like to introduce again, I'm Michael from DaytaPol. We are a cloud vendor. So just like what Chong has to say, first of all, when you are choosing a vendor, the compliance is very important. And obviously, we are GDPR and HIPAA compliance. And as one of the top Amazon advanced technology partner, so we rely on the top of the line technology that we offer 256 AES encryption to our customers. And our company origin from Australia in year of 2017, and we get into Southeast Asia on 2019. This is our current map of a data center. You can find out more information from our website if you want to. And lastly, I show you this slide just to make sure that the session ends in a fruitful way. When we talk about business continuity, BCP versus data management, disaster recovery, back to one question, that is, are you ready for it? After learning for so long, after learning for so much, if you're not ready for it, and if you do not take action, and this is something that probably you need to look into it. And again, thank you RSM for inviting. And I would like to thank you everyone again. Should you have any question, you can either start to ask question in the Q&A session. Otherwise, you can throw the question back to RSM so that they can help you. Thank you again. And Alex, back to you.
Thank you, Michael, for the wonderful explanations on disaster recovery. And also, right now, let's go back to my screen. So, hold on. Okay, before that, I would just like to show you on a very interesting website. This will actually shows you. Okay, as you can see right now, this is actually a live cyber threat maps where you can see cyber attacks has been happening live right now, where cyber criminals are actually shooting up malware attacks to everywhere in the globe. This is one of the websites where you can actually see what we can show you. Malaysia used to be in the top 5 and during the daytime, during the working hours, we actually below country like the United States, Russia, and even China. We actually below them only. So doesn't mean that with this which I actually show you, we can actually show you that though we are small, but that doesn't mean we are not vulnerability to any kind of attacks. Okay, so right now, hold on, let me just change my screen again. Okay, back to this one of the last screens, one of the few last slides that before we end for today's session. We from RSM right now is able to provide you the IT services. Do contact us if you have any inquiries as well. We provide risk assessments and cybersecurity consultations, IT and network consultations, IT sales and supports, and of course we do IT share services as well. And also, do catch up with us on our next webinars that will be available soon. We'll be talking on a cybersecurity product called Bitdefender. We will be sharing these wonderful products with everybody. We will send out the newsletter, the invitations soon. Now we will open the floor for Q&A sessions. If you have any Q&As, please, you can unmute yourself and speak up, or you can even send us the chat there, or even email us. Open to the floor. Any questions? I have a question here from which I received earlier emails from one of the participants called Sovin. Sovin was asking about questions on protections against ransomware attack. How do we actually move on that? Well, okay, to answer this question is actually very simple. This is a question where it respects to the, of course, the most basic protection we talk about is always having a antivirus software installed on your computers. And of course, that antivirus software has a kind of AI or even a machine learning capabilities to detect any kind of, to detect the characters or the behavior of the files that is each incoming. Any other questions? So, if there is no questions, then thank
Alex,
you.
Yeah, Chong here. Yeah.
Yes, Sean.
Yeah, I mean, just wanted to add on that if there's anyone who interested in trying out the G Suite, I think Google is actually currently offering some programs for free trial. And they have also launched a trial program for only the conferencing solution. So feel free to approach Alex to discuss about setting up the free trial. They give it up to the 30th of September. So there's a lot of I mean, you can use a more secure way of conferencing and all that. And I'm happy to assist everyone who is thinking about that. Yeah.
Okay, we have a question here from Thomas. Is there a risk for computer to use Google Drive for storage of working data? John, to you.
Hi, Thomas. So I would say that most of the companies using G Suite will be using the Google Drive. And Google Drive, as mentioned, there has been actually practicing a lot of security measurements. So first, there's a lot of audits that you can see, which is all being tested and running. Secondly, is that it's all actually having an audit logs. So anyone who is actually accessing it, change it, forward it out, share it out, is all actually being documented. Thirdly, is that G Suite is, I think probably 90% of the Fortune 500 companies are using Google services and G Suite. So as much as another part of it, we're talking more than Google Drive. Companies are hosting their application servers, their important workload on the Google Cloud. They are all using the same security infrastructure measurements and things like that. So I would safely say that it is probably the most one of the most secure solutions that you will be embarking on. Yeah. So Thomas says, what if it's not the G Suite but like the normal Google Drive? Okay. So if it's a normal Google Drive, you will not have the admin console. So you will not be able to check on a lot of who actually go in and use your files and things like that. And your permission sharing will be less complex. I mean, it's very straightforward, you know, and you cannot do governance, you cannot set policies and all that. So, and you cannot do two-form authentications from a normal free G Suite or Google Gmail. Yeah. So the advice is to go with G Suite. We should have a professional email, which is tying to your company email. You have a lot more governance and security policies you can apply with. And I think G Suite starts with only like $480 a month for a basic user. And you already have all the features that that you can mention, and you can have the control about your organization. Okay, thanks, Thomas.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Thomas, to come to you, just to let you know, Google Drive is actually a sync data, and is very different compared to a backup sync. Of course, I believe data pool from Michael just now, he have actually indicate clearly the differences between data syncs and data backup. Just for your information. Any other questions coming in? Are we looking at any more other questions? Okay, if there is no further questions, then thank you very much for attending today's sessions. We from RSM just want to give thank you again for attending, and also just we would just like to quick sharing on RSM. RSM is actually RSM HQ is actually in London. We are represented in most of the countries. RSM is the 6th largest network in the world with 45,000 staff worldwide. Thank you. And if you have any questions, please contact us or email us at askus@rsmmalaysia.my. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you.
Experience the power of being understood. Experience RSM.